Okay, in this video we're going to work through the process to create removed section views. Removed section views are set up by creating multiple cutting plane lines. These cutting plane lines can be created at specific distances from a displacement point or a datum edge. This would be the datum edge at the bottom of the part. And then these specifically placed cutting plane lines can be set to a distance utilizing a sketch tool on the particular part. In order to set up a removed section, we're going to have to create the cutting plane line and then create the section view and break alignment. So what we'll do in order to create this drawing, I'm going to come down to a layout where I've already created the front view and the right side view, and I'm going to go ahead and start with the first cutting plane line to create my first section. So to do so, I'll grab my section view tool off of the create bar from place views tab, and I'll mouse over the view that I want to start working with. I'll select the view, and now I'm ready to start creating my first cutting plane line. Remember, you want to be approximately 1/4 inch off the part. Select, move across the part using clicked on the other side, right click, and then hit continue. By doing so, you can now pull your removed section away from the cutting plane line. Now, some specifics about a removed section. A removed section is thought of as a very thin slice of the object. It is not what is referred to as a full section depth. So in the section view dialog box, you need to look at the section depth, and the first thing to do is to change this to a distance. And this is showing now that there is a distance. You can see this large dark line above the cutting plane line. That large dark line above the cutting plane line is now representing the distance of the section. The distance that we're going to work with is going to be a very, very small distance, so we're going to go ahead and select 0.001, and now you can see that that dark distance line is almost directly on top of the cutting plane line. At least the view does appear that way. Then we want to come up to the view identifier and make sure that the view identifier is set to be A. That way it will become AA. The scale is the same as the parent view for the front view. And we also want to make sure that the hidden lines are not turned on, so that we want to make sure hidden line removed is set up as in section views. We do not use hidden lines. So as we work through all the little pieces of the dialog box, we can now come down, and then I like to move this off of the part so it's easier to then select later, and then I'm going to go ahead and click. You could also hit OK on the dialog. Immediately, one of the first things we're going to do is we're then going to go ahead and select this particular remove section, and I'm going to right click, come down, and we can go ahead and go to alignment, and then we can break the alignment. This can also occur up on the ribbon bar where it says break alignment. Either place works. I enjoy the right click features, so I go ahead and hit break alignment. By doing this, I can now move this particular view around my drawing. And this is why this section view style is called a removed section, because you're removing it from the relationship of the view. Every other section that we've done up until now is set up directly in line with what would be the multi-view projection. By removing this particular section from its position, we can now place this somewhere else on the page. We can also rotate and align these sections with subsequent section views. If I go back up and take a look at the finished drawing, notice that these removed sections are aligned, and they are aligned by the center line of the part. It is very important that any section lines that are or section views that are removed are aligned by center line. So how do we do this? I'll go back to my layout. I'm going to go ahead and select this view, and in order to rotate the view, I will again right click. I'm going to slide up to the word rotate, and then I'm going to go ahead and rotate this particular view, and I'll rotate this by an edge. Select an edge, and now this is rotated in my proper orientation. I'll go ahead and hit OK, and then I can start roughly positioning this where I would like to see it. Go ahead and grab my text and bring it off of my section view. So the next thing is now just positioning this particular cut plane so that it is in the proper orientation to the bottom of the part, or in this particular case, this is now the datum edge. To do this, you can grab the section plane or the cutting plane, and you can drag the cutting plane. And notice how this section will update as I drag this cutting plane back and forth. Here we have a hole in this particular rib, and you can see now there's missing material. If I slide down to this particular instance, you now have a solid. So what we're going to do is I'm going to find out exactly where I need to place this particular cutting plane by going back to the original drawing. And it looks like this particular cutting plane, the first one, is going to be 2 inches from the bottom of the part. So I'll go ahead, and I'm going to go ahead and place a dimension just for my reference sake at this point. And this is now set at 2.26. Well, an easy way to take and do this is you can grab this and just start moving this. But to get this to be exact can be a little difficult, and you're going to hunt back and forth. So an easier way to go ahead and do this is to then go ahead and locate the sketch that this cutting plane is actually utilizing. So to do this, we come over to the browser, and we're going to then grab the arrow and open up the cutting plane. So over in the browser, we need to locate the sketch that is actually creating this particular section root. So the sketch would be above the section, remove section part, the little symbol of the section right here. Then we're going to look at this sketch above, which is now sketch 1. And you can see that this is the part of the sketch. I'll actually close this to make it a little less confusing. If I actually move over top of these images, they highlight. So by sitting over top of sketch 1, you can see that my cutting plane line has a red line running through it now. If I right click on sketch 1 and hit edit, then I can go ahead and select the edit tool or the edit sketch. Now my cutting plane line has turned red and my arrows have disappeared. This dimension that I placed back in the drawing is not an editable dimension. So I'll grab the dimension tool, select my cutting plane line, select the bottom of the part, move off to the side and drop the dimension. I now can type in any dimension that I would like. 2 inches is what I'd like to have. It will move that cutting plane sketch line, and then when I hit finish sketch, my cutting plane will snap to the proper position. Notice now that my dimension is set to 2 inches. So it's a real easy way that you can go ahead and set cutting plane lines to specific distances to gain specific slices of the object. So to go ahead and set the next one up, I'll go ahead and grab my section view tool, select the part, and this particular instance, instead of being a 1/4 inch off of the edge of the part, I'm going to move out so that my actual arrows would be approximately lined up. Again, I'm going to pull down. I need to make sure that AA is now going to become BB, because this will be the second section on this page. The distance will become the same distance we worked with before, 0.001. Make sure it's set to distance, and then I'm going to come down and I'll go ahead and click again. Same thing where I select the view, right click, going to come up to rotate, rotate by edge, grab an edge and it will rotate, hitting OK. I need to also now break the alignment, which looks like it's already been broken by rotating. And now I can start roughly positioning this particular view. I can also go ahead and create my bisector lines on these views, so I can start aligning them by center line. So I can grab annotate, I can grab the bisector line tool, and then start selecting the edge to edge. And then I can should be able to then select this and pull. There we go. Pull this up off of the part. I'll do it to this view as well. Select, select, and then go ahead and pull my bisector center line. By doing this, I can now align these two views together. If I select a view, right click, go to alignment, and I want to align horizontally with this view. And then they snap together. These two now are set up in a line. I'll bring my text to line up with text, and I can go ahead and start thinking about positioning this properly. So I'm going to go into the sketch that creates this particular cutting plane, and again I'm going to mouse over top of my sketches here to find it's now sketch 2. So I'll go ahead and right click on sketch 2, hit edit, grab my dimension tool, grab the cutting plane and create a dimension. I'm not remembering exactly what that should be, so I'm going to go back to my other drawing. We'll have to come back, get out of the sketch, go back to the other drawing, remove section. This second cutting plane is going to be set to 5.45, so I'll go back to my remove section. I'm going to go back to that sketch 2, which is right here. We'll edit that, and then we'll set this up at 5.45, hit enter, finish the sketch, and then if I put a dimension from this cutting plane to the bottom of the part, I can now see that that is 5.45, and that is now my section BB. I'm going to go ahead and we create the third in the exact same orientation, in the exact same way. Go back to my remove section, just take a look. We can now go ahead and start dimensioning these section views as well. For this particular video, I think I've gone through twice. I think you can go ahead and create that CC yourself, pull down, rotate, make sure it is aligned properly. Also, make sure that your material's set up, but we've gone over that in the past already, and you should know how to set up aluminum as your hatching, as the material for this part is aluminum. This is an aluminum part, and make sure that this is aluminum. As we look at this, this is not. We go in and edit the hatch, and we can go up and set up either by material if we chose to do so, or we can go in and just select aluminum and make sure that the hatching represents the material, and also make sure that that material does populate the title block. So a few things to take a look at. In addition, make sure your text type's correct for your section view. Alright, I hope this helps get you through setting up a removed section.